All right, well, we are back. Andy Hoang and Chris Cree is going to be the game streamed. These, as far as I understand, are the two remaining undefeated players in the NWL division. So after this game, there will be just one, barring a tie situation. So definitely interesting to see who will walk away 6-0 and potentially 7-0 after the first day of nationals. I think we'll try to keep the winner on stream unless we have a really cool matchup elsewhere. Chris Cree once again going first in this game, demonstrating his excellent tile drawing technique once again. Andy is a player who's really surged up the rankings. He's one of several players here who came through the school Scrabble scene. Jackson Smiley, who we just saw, is another. He won that tournament twice, and really the last year or so has surged up from 1750, 1800 to high 1900s. He hosts a lot of tournaments in North Carolina as well. So I'm curious to see what's changed in his game and why all of a sudden he's having such promising results. We'll find out. Hopefully he can play a good one for us on stream. Chris to go first. And kind of similar to last time, he's going to be able to score out of this rack, but that's about it. ADHIMPR as his rack. So he'll have some good options. Dirham, DIRHAM, scores 30 points. Aphid scores 26. I see he set up Farm, PHARM, which I don't believe is valid. I should know that. I literally just finished pharmacy school.
Anything that makes it more difficult because you're like, well, it's very plausible. Mid-harp.
Yeah, mid-harp, absolutely. No,
when I was mid-harp.
Me, the player I'm so tempted to play HM here just because I love tight closed boards, but I think that's, the defensive merit just doesn't quite make up for the sacrifice in points that you're getting.
It's a huge sacrifice in points, 8 points or it's not like he's going to get that. I don't know. I guess he could do something like Aphid, or I don't have Crackle in front of me. Could consider trying Farm. But I don't know that HM is like the huge, it's not like a question of 20 points. And you're right, for the beginning of the game, keeping a tight board is hard to do.
Yeah. No, the first few turns are typically what determines a lot of the board's shape down the road. And so I always try to play small in those when I can, just because I prefer those boards so much. And I prefer those boards so much because I don't know any words. So let's make the game come down to 2s, 3s, and 4s, because that's all I've got. So Chris doing what seems to be the correct play here, Dirham, and kudos to him for spelling it right. I would definitely say hold and just stare at it for a while, because with those H words, I never know where the H's go. IHRAM is also valid, Eram, but Dirham or Dirham, the one here. So good spot by Chris.
Absolutely. Good job not especially given that Andy is from right by Durham, North Carolina, which makes this addedly confusing. It's like a word
wow.
Right, which is Durham.
And
wow, and both blanks already out.
Chris PPEELL blank. That's a fun one. And Andy FGINOU blank. So Andy's going to have several bingos here. Nothing that scores super well. The highest scoring bingo is probably also the hardest one for him to see. So I'll give Chad a minute to spoil it all, since y'all don't like when I say it all out loud. But several bingos available to Andy here.
I think this is going to be, an incredibly interesting matchup and certainly an important game. But it is also important to note, when we're talking about who's going to be undefeated at the end of day one, that there are a lot of games to go. This tournament is young. So, certainly nice to end your first day going home saying, I haven't lost one yet, but we can't write out anybody in this tournament, even people who are, having a rough start on their first day. Now, the people who are having a rough tournament are all going to get to play each other. The people at the top are going to start knocking each other down. This tournament is still very, very young.
So Chris has Appellee, APPELLEE, and he set it up on his rack. That is a word. That would be an incredible find and an incredible way for him to bingo for quite a bit of points out of this rack. Andy's best bingo will block it. His best bingo is infought, INFOUGHT. I don't think I'd see that word live or elsewhere. And I don't think any of his other bingos are going to block it. He's got fonduing, founding, fungoids, flowering, but none of those knock out a Peli. So it looks like Andy, unless he finds Infot, is going to bingo here for low 60s, and then Chris going to bingo back with a Peli. That would be a quite interesting.
It'll be a pretty board with just these big vertical lines. Yeah, I think another problem, I'm clearly not as strong a player as Andy is. Oh, he found and fought, it looks like.
He's got to think about if it's good, though. It looks nasty, but
it's hard to, play something that's potentially not good if you have these obvious bingos like founding. It would feel so silly to not have bingoed. But
right, yeah.
I'm like, even just finding in fought to me says it's something you've seen before, because I don't think it's an obvious word.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with all of that. But infot 68, all the other options 64. So you got to be pretty dang confident to put that down over one of the more conservative options. Not to mention, if Chris, challenges off infot, he can block everything else, and you will get no bingo as opposed to your 64 that you had for sure. So Andy is going to play the conservative option, sets up infot, declines to play it. Chris has to be thrilled that a Peli isn't blocked. He won't be thrilled to open the triple with an E there, but to bingo out of this rack and not have to play off ELP for very few points, definitely huge for Chris as well. So founding.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have another fun S hook. Does founding take an S? Yes or no? It's always difficult to figure out which of those ing words gerendize and which don't. The general rule of thumb is they don't, like they never do, unless it's very obvious that they do. And yet every time I see it, I want to put an S at the end of it. So we'll see if that comes up for these players. We'll see if they know it or not. As Chris impressively, wow, a Peli. That's so nice. 3 E's, 2 P's. That is a probability almost 30,000. And Chris dropping it down. So that's super cool. Nice play
And
by
also
Chris.
So sad for Andy that he can't come back, and he picked just a whole crap ton of vowels here. There's no way to like block all of the triple lanes that are open. He's gonna have to probably do something with that E just for the sake of shutting down the triple. On the other hand, I don't know what the great move is here that also gets rid of some of those vowels for him. He doesn't have terribly many awesome options at this point.
So the most fun play is through the top P in a Peli, apogee, Apogee. Forget
Ooh.
it. If one triple's open, I'll just open another one, and you can play on yours, and then I'll play on mine, right? That's how I tend to respond to these situations. Like, whatever. The more conservative play probably is goalie through the L in a Peli, Goalie. 18 points, hold AE. Apogee is tough to see and tough to do, but I love that craziness. I would absolutely do it here.
Someone is saying in the chat that they love full vowels versus full consonants. Together, Chris and Andy have a really balanced rack of 14 tiles.
Right. Yeah. Just, sometimes you just wish you could trade with the person across from you.
Yeah. I promise you won't regret it. Just give me one vowel and then you score 60 points.
Chris is in really good shape, actually. He can play KERBS through that E, score 42 now, and hold the Q to play through the U in founding. So it looks bad, but I love the 7 consonants way more than the 6 or 7 vowels because you can score. That's just me and my preference, but I hate vowels. I play off vowels more than almost anybody else out there, and I will never stop doing it. Sorry, I don't care what Macondo says, what Hastybot says. I don't care. I hate vowels, and I always will.
Especially double vowels. It's just so, there's nothing worse than when you're like, I've got these beautiful bingo-friendly tiles, and then you're like, not another I. How do so many? I know there are only 9 in the bag, but sometimes it feels like there are 50 in there.
Right, right. Oh, and that is the honorary mascot of this tournament. That is my husky, Colby, who is not having a good time as I've been sitting here on stream for a long time. So I apologize for
Oh,
that. I'll try to get him to calm down. But if you hear some husky singing, that is what it is. I'll do my best to keep it to a minimum. Andy's not playing any of the options that I saw here. Not goalie, not apogee, but Gallia holding 3 balls. It is actually going to knock out Chris's best play, but it'll make a play like Ben's score significantly more. So good block, but also you're still going to get hurt pretty bad on this one. And I definitely prefer goalie. I hate holding 3 vowels. Do you guys want me to talk more about how much I hate vowels, or did you get the gist
I
of it
just
there?
wish you would
Okay,
be
good.
clear about your stance on them because at this point we just don't know how you feel. Um, wow, that did not work out for poor Andy. Um, yeah, like you're saying, if you had the choice between all vowels and all consonants, especially on this board, at least with consonants, you can get some points. Um, it's so interesting. We're going to see that E that opened up the triple lane plus the triple that's available down from founding, neither being used in 2 turns here, but that's just the way this board happens to work out. And I think he's seeing the obvious move here of Ben's.
Yeah,
Gonna
no
be
brainer decision
plenty of
here for
points.
Chris, and we do want to put the S on way more points there. So I don't know. Yeah, that Gallia play was so weird. Look, if you're gonna hold 3 vowels, why not just play a G or OG and FE? Why play Gallia? I don't totally understand that play by Andy, and he's
Mm.
continuing to pay the price for it as holding 3 vowels leads to more vowel trouble for him, as you would expect. So we'll see what Andy does now. Tough decision. Yogi through the G makes sense. Holds EEIN, scores 16. You can also play the other spelling of Yogi, Yogee, holding IIN, but scoring 2 more. Or you can say, forget it. I don't care about my leave. I'm playing EYNE for 30 alongside founding. That's going to hold IIO. He can also play kind of in the middle, IING, EYEING. That's going to be 20 points, holds IO. So bunch of different options for Andy. How much do I want to try to fish and bingo? How much do I just say I'm going to score now and hope that I get a good draw next turn since I haven't in a few turns? I'm not sure what the right play here is. I think I'm inclined to score 30 though.
Yep. I agree with that. Unfortunately, none of those are going to block something like Quirk or Quark off of founding. For Chris Cree, like we said, he left that U open for his Q, and it is going to work out for him.
Andy's playing Yogin, Yogin. Why would you put the N there? He's holding
Yeah,
3 vowels again.
why not keep that N? That is a confusing decision to me. Maybe he's thinking there's good stuff in the bag and I want to grab it, but yeah, definitely a little bit of a confusing decision.
Yeah, not sure what
He
the
did
rationale was
he
there, but
did grab some nice things.
yeah, wow. This time WZG. What is with the W and the Z? They keep coming out
I
together.
know. Alright,
Okay.
so he does go with Quark, which is oh, that's gotta be brutal if you're Andy at this point.
Yeah, no, not
I mean,
fun.
now Andy can come back with something like Zig under and make adds into SI. He can definitely, like, rack up some points this turn. It just stinks that he's going to lose the sweetness of that because of Quark, the catch-up value of it.
Chris also with a really questionable decision there. You can also play Quirk, Quirk. Quark takes a front S, and Quirk does not.
Hmm,
Chris doesn't have an S, and he has a commanding lead. Why would you set up that spot when you can not set up that spot? Perhaps he's thinking that since DRAM is on the board already, just make as many S hooks as possible. If you get one, maybe I'll get one too. But I certainly would have opted to play tighter there, Quirk instead. Uh,
mhm.
anyway, curious decision. These guys are
Maybe
undefeated and there for a reason, and I'm not. But that's
yeah,
one that
absolutely.
I am confused about.
We can all agree that you would have been there and been easily undefeated, but you had to stay home with the dog. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It's
clearly
Colby's
the only
fault,
reason.
and
Maybe
it's
he
not.
was thinking about there is still a Y out there and something with quirky. Maybe he was thinking about possible scoring opportunities hooking it on the other end, but No, I agree with that. Ugh, the dreaded UW, my least favorite combination. I think that doesn't make me unique.
Oh man. Ugh. Yeah.
It's the worst.
I mean, he can play Twee and FE fine, but like when I see that 3 T's, a U, and a W, like I just want to exchange 7 right now before it's even my turn. Oh, not good.
Not good. Andy has another one who forgot to say his tile god prayers this morning. And this is another time too where we've seen Chris with, like, Chris is obviously an incredible player, but he's also had this really nice luck of, like, the Q right when there's that U open with the triple letter. He's had kind of this nice timing going for him.
Yeah, timing, definitely the right word for it there. Just when he needs a letter, it's right there. When he has 7 consonants, oh, there's an E that you can hit a triple and a double. Like, not that he's not playing well, he is, but he's also definitely had the timing in his favor.
Someone in the comments was saying they can't wait for Uwu to be added to the list, which
What's
you
this?
can add Uwu and you can add, I don't know, cringy.
You can add Uwu and Owo at the same time. And when if takes a Y hook, but not where you think. All right, I'll stop now. Chris has a decision to make. Chris, I know, doesn't typically like opening the board all that much, but Loeb or Bull with FE makes a lot of sense. Chris, I like this idea by him quite a bit, actually. He's taking out the Dirham's hook. He's playing Foible, and it does still take a back S, but you're going to have to slot that S perfectly. So that's a neat play by Chris. Now we really are starting to close the board, except the S hook in front of court. So,
that's exactly right.
Going back and looking at that, like it's a more and more questionable decision to me the longer. And now that S hook is huge. Maybe he thinks Andy doesn't know it. Maybe Chris forgot it. Maybe he thought that QUIRK took the front S instead. I'm not sure, but we've had a lot of weird stuff with S hooks today, and that seems like that hasn't quite changed. All right.
Now we see this. Okay, so it looks like Andy, he's playing 2T, which I understand. We got 2 big kind of, I don't know, opening moves here. I guess you could argue that Foible also shuts down the board in a way, but gosh, I'd just be so eager to get rid of that W. I'm very biased against W's, and now he is 2. I mean,
Yeah,
W.
I can feel the tenseness. I can feel how stressed you are by those W's.
Yes, I was so disappointed to see that. I mean, he can do something like on with founding and play like AYE and woe and score some points at least. But now it's like, now he's going to have to deal with 2 of those.
Yeah, you play a W this turn and play another W next turn, or do you play W on top? I don't know. Chris with a tough decision of his own, though. 3 O's and a Y. We're not getting out of this anytime soon either. He could play Toyo down from the T and 2T for 14, but you just get crushed by overlaps for 40 if you don't get hit by a triple or something. You can't do that. It's like a equity play. AORT is probably the nicest leave you can hold, but that's ridiculous. Do you just drop 2 O's? Do you play HOO, making OP and OP? I don't know. That's 18. Holds AORTY, which is not good, but not the worst. I don't know. There's not really a good way to score points out of this rack. Otherwise, I guess we're going to see HOO probably, but I'm not really sure what else there is aside from Who or Toyo.
Your dog is agreeing with you there.
Yeah, he's shaking off these vowels like, ugh.
I mean, I guess you could do Toyo into the O of Foible rather than the T of 2T, but the leave is not great.
I'd be shocked if Chris does that. He does not like opening the board.
And also, it's like the cost-benefit analysis of that move is not terrific, that you're not getting a whole ton of points and setting up a bunch of bingo lanes.
But Chris has had several of these turns in a row now where I'm like, I don't really like any of these options. And he does something I wasn't even thinking about. And I'm like, ooh, I like that quite a bit.
Okay, so he's not dumping that Y.
Yeah, he's going to play Moo instead of Who. Who on the other side is 5 more points. I'm not seeing a compelling reason to play on
Oh,
this side instead. Oh, he's picked it up. Okay.
yes. Maybe he'll pop it down there. I don't know. Maybe he thinks it makes it slightly harder to hook an S on Durham and continue bingoing down.
Maybe he just whiffed on HOO. It was added not super long ago. I don't know. Strange.
Oh, looks like he's going for that on play. It's also nice because it does set up, open up another bingo lane, but we'll see if it bites him in the butt. We do know if Chris can find a bingo ending in a Y, Andy gave him a perfectly clean spot for that.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't look like he'll be drawing one of those, but at least a big S will help him out. Finally, that squirk spot. We'll see if Chris was predicting he would draw an S before Andy and setting himself up, or what. But he's got a lot of plays now with squirk, something like YAS or AYS. If he wants to go longer, he could do Rayas, RAYAS. I will find out if he knows that hook. I'm sure he does, but we'll find out if he spots it.
I have to say, for as much as I've been lamenting Andy's draws, he is not terribly far down. 28 points is certainly surmountable. So it's still anyone's game. And, even if he can't bingo with the tiles he has right now, he has a few scoring opportunities that could be, especially if Chris ends up opening things up by playing Squark.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much Chris will open things up. Will he do it something small like AYS, YAS, or will he go a little bit longer and create another line for eights? I'm not sure. Or will he save the S for later? Will he take that spot at all? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this turn is going to give us from Chris. It's a tough one.
Jinx.
Yeah, he's got one more cool option, Stoa, STOA, pluralizing Durham to make pot and poo and Durhams all at the same time. If you don't know Quarks, but you find that cool play, maybe you do it. It also knocks out the foibles hook, keeps things nice and closed. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either if we just see like a 2-tile fish. We drop AY or YA somewhere. There are spots to do that for 14 or 15. AORST, maybe not the best bingo leave, but looking at the unseen pool, 2 A's, 2 O's, 6 E's, and 4 I's. So you always want to avoid doubling up those vowels. And with what's unseen, it's unlikely AORST or AORT is quite a bit stronger than it appears in a vacuum.
Absolutely. I can also see him being inclined, if he's picking between dumping AY or AO, keeping the Y knowing that yawn is open. I mean, that's obviously on takes several other front hooks, and it makes it a little more palatable to me to have to keep that Y.
Yeah, the yawn spot is rather big. I mean, there's other letters that go there. To me, the biggest one is a D, Dawn, and bingo's there. He can make it all go away by playing Squirk, or he can leave it there and try to cash it in himself. I don't know what he's going to do this turn. This is really tricky.
And frankly, that's another way to end up bingo in an S at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Am I missing that on? So I was like, uh-oh, am I forgetting a word?
No, Son is good. Yep.
So he did all that work with Foible and with Moo, really, to try and block those S spots for bingos, and now one has opened itself up. Then again, he's now the proud possessor of one of those S's. So
yeah, he did beat Andy there. Though 2 more are unseen to Chris, that can't make him feel all that good.
Right, with not terribly many tiles in the bag.
And Andy's setting up another one. Does that mean he has it? I'd be worried. But I would love to just play YAS or AYS and Squark and just like keep things tight here.
All right, looks like he's looking to dump AY somewhere. Your guess is as good as mine where he's looking to do that.
Yeah, it's a matter of how aggressive he wants to be. He can play on top of Foible, making YO and AI. That's going to score 14 for him, and
this
not
is.
really open this board up.
Oh, he is going with Stoa.
Oh, he did it. I like that. Good. I thought there was no way that got played, but I also think that means Chris is not seeing the Squirk spot, which is going to be huge going
I
on in
don't
this
think
game.
so. I think that confirms for us why he did Cork instead of Cork. He just was not thinking of a front hook there. That's it. That was interesting.
Yeah. And Andy now got to decide how aggressive he wants to be next turn. The equity play here, Wive, playing on top of foil, WIVE, forks the board nicely too, opens a triple, but also a spot for you to bingo ending in a vowel or ES, something like that, or ES rather.
Right.
So that's a cool board forking play. ENT, a nice leave, 25, a good amount of points to score, but it is quite aggressive too. Wow, now Chris probably wishing he had fished off AY after that comes down.
Right.
But alas, he's not going to be able to punish this very hard. He'll still get something good, but perhaps a triple
like every.
Otherwise. Yeah, every or very.
Get points here. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does have to leave a bingo line open for Andy, and he won't go up by such a margin that a bingo is inconsequential. He can play Vivary, Vivary, through the V in Wive, or he can do this, leave it all open, say, forget it, good luck, Andy, and play Votary for a ton of points as well. Votary is 46, Vivary would be, or Votary is 40, Vivary would be 46. But Votary looks so solid. He kind of insta-played this when maybe if he'd taken a little more time, I don't know that Vivary is what you want to do. That E or that V in the 7th spot is still not great, but I'd rather a V in the 7th spot than an E in the 3rd spot of a triple. So possibly a missed opportunity there as well for Chris.
Although on the other hand, he's shutting down another very viable bingo lane, which is just playing an 8 through a T. Which like we had, we've been talking about shutting down these S spots, but there's been this 8 lane open this whole time.
Yeah, that's one lane, but it's probably the one I'm least concerned with. Squark, with Son, and now with these other 2 lines. I don't know. Andy,
I guess I could see using that to justify, at least I'm playing off this VM kind of shutting down one area. If I'm going to go for points as opposed to something defensive, at least it does technically take one more spot away.
Yeah, it's something. But if I've got a V in this situation, I want to use it for evil. I want to shut everything down with it. V's are some of my favorite tiles because they crush boards closed. And, I think we could have done better with it than that. I think Andy needs to play Jane here through the A and Votary, holding EHRT. You've done a great job opening this board. You've got 4 bingo lines right now. Play Jane. Don't play Jeer. That makes it easy for Chris. Don't play Jeer. Play Jane.
Now Chris only has 2 more lanes that he needs to shut down.
Yeah.
Plus, with lots of scoring opportunity.
But Jeer's going to come down. It is 36 points. It's a nice play. And, Chris gives us another opportunity to see if he knows Squirk. He's got Deixis, Deixis, and Squirk does open another triple, scores 47. And at that point, even a regular bingo from Andy might not be enough for him to catch up. Also sets up a spot for Chris to respond with a high-scoring overlap of the X if Andy does happen to bingo. So that's fun.
And Andy has finally drawn, these bingo letters he's been waiting for. Squark would do a nice job too of shutting down that opportunity. That would be painful to watch if he finally gets the bingo tiles and some sort of move dashes those hopes.
Yeah.
Happens to the best of us.
If he had a floating E, Andy would have enthused, but does not have that. Shunted is going to play with Dawn on Andy's next turn unless Chris does something about that. So again, a great time for Chris to make a Squark play. If he wants to be defensive, he could play XIS and Squark, but instead he's not going to play any of that. Instead, playing over on the other side, holding on to the X and kind of setting it up. He'll have EX and XI next turn, which has to feel good for him and would be enough to give him the lead after a bingo from Andy. So food and die. Interesting turn by Chris. I really don't think he sees Squirk here.
I think if he had seen Squirk, that would have been he would have played very quickly there to shut that down. Because also knowing Chris, someone who likes to play pretty defensively, I think I think he would have taken that opportunity.
Andy quickly playing shunted as one does with this rack. And shunted is going to leave 7 tiles for Chris in the end game. It's going to put Andy ahead by 24 points, but Chris has set up his S. He's got an X. He can play Nixes along the right side for 44 and leave 2 in the bag for Andy. That seems to be a very solid option for him. Chris also has now the final S, as Andy needed to use his S to bingo. So he could just leave the POOD S hook alone and hit it later because it's not going to go anywhere. What is
Andy likes to do these dramatic reveals of his final tile.
That's a C. Oh man, okay. Cyclo something.
Yeah. Oh, you're looking at the Y there.
Yeah. Cyclonal.
One more C and he's got cyclic, but only 2 in the game.
Cyclosis, cyclopes, cycloids. No, yeah. Cyclonal, I think the only thing he could even make. Nope, there's no ends. There's ends unseen to him. So he's not going to be able to draw CYC, LO, triple.
I mean, I still think it's going to be a pretty close game after Nix's, right? We're going to have a 20-point difference. So,
yeah,
so it's, I don't know if he can find something with that Y or, it depends what's left in the bag once Chris takes his tiles too. Looks like Chris is also considering
the big baller move. I'm sorry, exit is what it looks like he's thinking about right now, holding those ends. The big baller move from Andy is fish off the R and fish for cyclotol. I need another L.
That would be that just fishing for it, I think, would safely be brownie points if we're keeping track. Just going for something like that, I think it would probably, Andy would definitively lose the game, but he would walk away a man richer in brownie points.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not sure if there's anything there he can actually fish for, but definitely some food for thought and anagramming for the chat to do. Man, so after Nixes from Chris, Nixes would be 44. That would put him up by 20, holding 8 in and leaving 2 in the bag. So in situations like this, you want to be the one to go out first. You want to make the final play in the game. A lot of the time that decides these situations, and leaving 2 in the bag is a good way to do that. And he's going to have to make a long play and draw very well to go out in 2, or Chris is going to need a nightmare draw to not go out in 2. So Nixes, I think, is a play that's going to win pretty often for Chris, barring something really bad.
Now, someone's putting in the chat, what about Lyric? That's cute.
Yeah, Lyric.
That's a high scoring opportunity.
Cyclo as a 5 is also valid, CYCLO.
And I do think Andy is someone who knows his 5s. I think the key here, too, with Andy is not to panic and to, he is only 20 points down. So Nix's, it looks pretty, and you're like, there's that big power tile move that I have been waiting for Chris to slam down. But he's 20 points down and can easily make up those points with something like Cyclo or Lyric.
Yeah, just when Andy empties the bag, almost any out in 2 sequence for Chris is going to win the game for him. Cyclo scores 39, assuming he knows that word. Lyric or Lyric score 33. They put him up either 13 or 19, depending on the play he makes. As long as Chris goes out in 2, he's going to win the game. It'll be narrow, but he'll win the game. So I wonder if you have to try to get more creative, if you have to try to open something up. Consider playing CON to the N and shunted and saying, hey, I'm going to try to bingo with icon, deal with it. But Cyclo, I think, is the best way. If Chris does have a terrible rack, AAEF, MNRTU unseen. If Chris has a terrible rack, maybe he can't go out into. I don't think Chris is going to botch this in game. He's got 6 minutes to figure it out. He's a great Scrabble player. But I think Cyclo probably gives you the best chance. I think fishing is a little too desperate. And you just see what you draw. Maybe find a cool Cyclo extension or draw remit out of the bag. So Andy might be able to go out and 1. And that is
right. That's what I was thinking too. If
wow.
Andy can be, then Chris, if anything, needs to be very careful here that whatever play he makes to catch up those 19 points doesn't suddenly help. And we see Andy's already found that outplay, Miter off of EWE.
Yeah, Quackle says that Andy's 1. So I need to see where this other out for Andy is. But wow. So Cyclo actually ended up doing it. Chris can't just block Miter and go out next turn. I got to think a little bit harder about this.
I guess anything he would do to block it, what could he do to block it that would prevent Andy from playing on top of it? Something starting with a U?
Yeah, I mean, he could play Fab down to the B, but that doesn't leave an out for him. Yeah. Wow.
So we're going to see Andy Hoang as the only likely. We can't block anything yet. Can't say anything definitively yet, but we're likely to see Andy Hoang as the only undefeated player in Division 1 right now.
Yeah. What a cool game, too.
Andy. Oh, great game. Incredibly close game. And we really saw Andy had to keep his cool and not, he had so many unfortunate draws.
Wow. All right. If I'm Chris, I'm playing Cyclo not.
Is that valid?
No, but Chris, I think he's going to spend a lot of time looking and realize more and more there's nothing he can do. You can already see a hand on his head. Everything I do gives him back another play. I can't block it. I can't block it. Fauna, he's probably counting alongside Shunted, is going to score 30, but that's not going to be enough to outrun Miter. So, wow, Andy playing Cyclo and drawing exactly what he needed to have an out and 1 that can't really effectively be blocked. Wow. Yeah, Andy looked like he was dead at so many different points in this game and
absolutely
barely squeaking it out. I think Chris will go back and think about that DIE turn for a while. I think the big key was Chris, like with the previous game, Jackson had the S's to play Vitrix and never did it. Chris kept drawing the S's to play Squark and never did it. And
absolutely.
Both games come down to a big S hook that a player draws and doesn't play, and the other player ends up squeaking it out because of it.
Someone's wondering why Fab won't work. The reason Fab, potentially wouldn't work is that Andy can certainly go out in 2 turns, which means that Andy's going to end up with 1 turn extra, compared to Chris. So he could likely make up those points. It might make it, a little closer in the end. We'd have to do the math on that, but Fab would not win the game for Chris Cree.
Right. Andy has so many scoring opportunities. Rim or Trim playing down alongside Shunted, making HM would just score super well. And, so Chris wouldn't be able to go out with his leave of A and RTU. So it just wouldn't work. I would have spent a lot more time trying to make sure it didn't work. Oh, it looks like Andy mistracked, or maybe just double tracking to make it.
I think Andy is just a diligent player. He's just making sure, but he should have enough just from playing Miter, right?
Yeah. Maybe he's recounting the entire game right now just to make sure. But Miter is, good enough.
More than enough.
I'm not sure why he's taking so long, but I know I also get the jitters on stream, so Miter scores 15. It's going to have Andy as a winner by 8 points. All he has to do is play it.
Maybe he's
recounting the game, wants to make sure 8 is enough.
Wow, that is some diligent play there. And
remember when you talked about when your opponent spends a long time on an end game?
Yes, and you're like, just put me out of my misery, please.
Yeah, this is my pet peeve in Scrabble, where you've got the game won, just make your outplay and win. I wonder if Andy's not sure about miter with the RE spelling, and he's looking at it going to be enough to win.
Okay, this game could be Chris's, because does Trim off of Fauna win it for him?
I believe it still will, just because Chris is out. No, miter is his only win, it appears.
Yeah, because it doesn't put him up, but Trim has him lose by 1, right?
Oh.
5, 6, 12.
Trim has him lose by 3 if Chris goes out with Rut through the T and 2T.
Oh, right. I was thinking Rat there. Okay, he has to. So Andy is knowing he has to try miter to win.
Yeah, that makes things interesting, because miter's an insta play that wins the game if he's, if it's a word. So I
instinctively, I feel like I know miter because I play a lot of Boggle, and those RE words are so very useful.
Yeah.
And he put it on his rack, so he knows it's a possibility. But if you are looking at Trim and saying, I'm certain I'll lose by 3, then why, in my mind, why not risk? I guess that's why he's checking as well, because if the score is off by a little bit and Trim could potentially win him the game, then that's a different story. But I think what's going to happen here is he is going to check the score, realize there's no way to win with Trim, and end up playing miter. At least that's what I hope.
I can't see any other way that events go down. And then we hear some god dang it's coming out of Chris's mouth on the hot mic after the game.
Right.
You tell me you spent 7 minutes to play the word that won by 8 points. Why didn't you just play the word that won by 8 points? But
exactly.
Yeah, Andy going out of his way above and beyond to make sure that he has to try this word that I bet he's like 98% sure on. But if you're in a situation where playing a phony will lose you the game, see if there's a word you can be 100% on that wins the game. I don't know. Maybe he has Chris mistracked too. Maybe he doesn't know that Chris has an out. Maybe he thinks Chris has RR and can't go out anywhere.
Right. There's so many options here, but regardless, I mean, I guess not regardless, miter would win if you're that uncertain of miter, but I just wish, for the sake of putting them both out of their stress here, I'm like, do it, play miter.
I would be extremely annoyed if I was Chris and Andy spends 7 minutes and then plays miter. I would be extremely annoyed. Not necessarily at Andy, like, I get it if you're not sure, you want to take your time, but also like, come on, man, just But at the same time, I'd be a little bit optimistic right now. Like, is he going to blow this? Is he going to blow this? And then he doesn't blow it, and I sit there getting all excited for 6 minutes, and then it doesn't happen.
I think that'll be a big emotional roller coaster for Chris, that he thought, well, I've lost by a few points. I did the best I could do. And then, oh gosh, what are you doing?
Oh, he might try Trime instead of miter.
No, Andy. But I do think Andy knows his 5s. Like, I'm convinced he would not I just don't think he would risk Trime.
We'll see. Suspense where I didn't think we would have suspense.
Well, I think we'll likely only have suspense for a maximum of 4 minutes and 44 seconds more. So.
Yes. And then hopefully suspense for an additional 50 minutes beyond that.
Right.
As we have one more game to play. As Andy shuffles these tiles around, I get more and more confused about what's about to happen. I was thinking miter's definitely coming down. Okay, he's going to think, and then miter's coming down. Now we might play Trime. Now, I don't No.
Someone's saying in the chat, it's time to make your final play. Well, he might or he might not.
He
That was
might
a
or
miter joke.
he might not.
He might or he might not.
All right. So
I'm here
Miter
so
does
fun.
eventually come down. Andy does the right thing, wins the game. He's probably very tense, like waiting for Chris to say challenge. And Chris is not going to. Oh, I guess he is going to. Yeah. Okay.
Might as well. It's a free challenge.
Absolutely free. Nope. Chris
Some
putting his
utility
tiles on
right
the
there.
board. Wow. Interesting game. I'm surprised that Andy was able to pull it out. Definitely some turns I think both players are going to go back and think about afterwards. But if you're Andy, you've got to be really pleased to draw very well after Cyclo. After making a nice play too, that's a tough 5 to like be certain on.
And you know, Andy had so many unfortunate draws in this game. If he had to pick one time to have good luck, he really saved it up for the most opportune time, right? If there had to be one time for the tile draw to go his way.
I love Joel's comment. The biggest reason Andy should have insta-played Miter is to not leave the commentators and chat time to think of bad puns. Well, too bad. So sad. I will be here for 2 weeks, all of the Players' Championship and all of the Worlds, and I will do everything in my power to continue making bad puns and dad jokes. Go ahead and mute the stream if you like, because you will not win this one. I'm here to stay. I taught high school for 4 years. I know how to make people roll their eyes like nobody's business.
I didn't teach high school, but I'm just that annoying. So good luck.
They got up and walked away. I think maybe Chris did challenge Miter after putting his tiles face up. Technically, the game is over. Know your rules. I've actually gotten Chris Cree on exactly this before. I bingoed out. He showed me his tiles, put him face up, and then said, I challenge. And I'm like, actually, you can't.
You don't.
The word was good anyway. It didn't matter. But that was a little uncomfortable. So he did it again. You at home, know your rules. Once the tiles go face up on the board, the game is over. They cannot challenge your play. It will help you out one day, maybe. But I digress. Andy winning a nail biter. Chris has won many nail biters today, but finally dropping a nail biter of his own.
You know what I think you should do, Matt, is I think you should text Jackson that Chris missed the S front hook on Quark, because there were many people in the chat who were concerned for Jackson's well-being the game before when you texted him. Just let him know, hey, you are not alone on missing these S hooks today.
Yeah, no, I mean, everybody makes mistakes at a tournament, and Scrabble is such a mind game too. You're gonna make mistakes. I never want to quackle or look up my racks after the game because I don't want to know if I've missed it, because then I'm going to be kicking myself forever. But at the same time, I've got to know if I missed it, because what if I draw the same rack again tomorrow and I miss it again? And that did happen to me at the last nationals I played. I drew the same rack on back-to-back days and whiffed a bingo both times because I didn't look it up. So anyway, that is the end of this one. 394 to 402 is what we have the score as. So an 8-point victory for Andy. We are quickly going to take a break as we figure out what game is on stream, though I'd imagine we see Andy one more time, as he is the remaining undefeated in Division 1, unless I find a really compelling matchup that I really, really want to get on stream. I'll take a look real quick. Chris Cree versus Noah Walton on table 2. Andy Hoang versus Jackson Smiley on table 1. Rafi Stern versus Carl Johnson on table 3. I think we'll get Andy and Jackson here, the dude who just won the Word Cup versus the dude who's currently leading the Scrabble Players Championship. Yeah, that's what we'll do next. Andy and Jackson, how's that for y'all? We will take a short break so I can relieve my bladder, and hopefully y'all at home can do the same, these players as well. And we will be back shortly with our final game of the day.
Like to make a request that you please give the dog many tummy rubs in this break.
The dog will get
viewers at home, by which I mean me, would like that to happen.
Yes, absolutely. That will happen. I guarantee it. We'll be back in just a minute. Y'all don't go anywhere. Chat, stay popping, and we'll see you soon.